Hello everyone, GavTheMaster974 here again today, doing a Valve Hammer tutorial today and something a little extra. And today I'm going to go over how to make portal test chamber signs for your portal maps, but also how to make your own test chamber signs as well, which is going to be very interesting. So in my case here, I've just got a very basic sort of section of a map where I'm going to create a prop dynamic. And you want to place it somewhere. You want to have enough room for this to, fit as well. So I'm just going to use default test chamber sign 0, and due to the orientation that I've set, it fits on this plane. I'm just going to have to decrease the grid size just to push this out a little bit and make it flush against the wall, and then make it so it's centered like so. So as you see, it's 96 units wide and 192 units tall, so it's fair to say you want at least 128 width and 256 height for the sign like this. And so I'm just going to go into the properties, and what we're going to do is call this, for example, sign. No need to be too creative, and you can also set the skin to 1, because as you can see, this is not something that you're supposed to see. But if you go to number 1, then it's basically just a dark grey skin, since skin 0 is not used. So that is in the inactive state. And so we can create an ambient generic next. And just place that somewhere near the sign, maybe in front of it and in the middle, like where I've put it. And yeah, so it's basically a very, very short soundbite. But the reason for that is it's going to be looped, so yeah, it's just going to play continuously. Max audible distance, we're going to decrease this to something like 384, and if you really want to, you can change the source entity name to be the sign entity. That way, instead of just playing from this specific spot, it's actually originating from the sign model itself. And because we want it to loop, we want to uncheck the is not looped flag here. So it's just going to loop, basically, is what it does. We don't want it to play everywhere, and we want it to start silent. And so now we can create a logic relay. So let me just create one of those. And to be a bit efficient, we're actually going to create 3. I'll put 1 on this right hand side over here, because what we're going to do is call this relay sign. And then in outputs, we want to do on trigger, and we haven't made these next relays yet, so we're going to do them in just a second. But we want to make a logic relay called relay animate sign, and on top of that, we want another on trigger for relay start sign buzz. Like so. And we want that to trigger as well. I didn't put that in. Oops. Trigger. Alright. So now we can go to one of these logic relays over here and just make sure these are all aligned. Doesn't really matter which one's which. They're all going to do the same sort of thing anyway. So I'll go to the one on the right. And this one is going to be relay start sign buzz. And then inputs, we should see that, yeah, that output in the previous logic relay is going to trigger this. And so in this case, it's just a long, tedious set of on-trigger outputs, especially related to the sound fluorescent light. And so first and foremost, we're going to set a volume of 5. Then we're going to play sound after a delay of 0.2. Then we're going to have volume of 5 again, but this time after 0.21. So again, I don't know if you necessarily need to do that, because it's just setting the volume to the same thing. And again here, sound of 5, but after 0.3 seconds. Then a volume of 0 after half a second, 0.5. Then a volume of 5 after 0.7 seconds. Then a volume of 0 again after 0.8 seconds. Then a volume of 10 after 1 second, then a volume of 5 after 1.1 seconds, then a volume of 10 after 1.2 seconds, and then a volume of 5 after 1.4 seconds, and last but not least a volume of 10 after 1.7 seconds. So you can see this is a sort of dipping of the volume at very tight time intervals to sort of get it to, you know, just flicker a little bit in terms of the volume before it stays at a persistent volume. Okay, that's related to the boot up of the sine, I guess you could say. And so this last relay is a logic relay called relay animate sine, like so. And if you go on the inputs, we can see, yep, that's named correctly. And so this trigger on trigger outputs are very specific to the sine and the skin input. And so here we're just going to say we're going to set skin to number 2 after 0.3, and then I didn't copy, so copy and paste, then just change to 4 after 0.3 as well, apparently. Then go to number 3 after 0.4, then a skin of 4 after 0.6, then after that it's number 3 again. Oops, I overwrote the wrong parameter. So that is number 3 after 0.8. Then we want to go to number 4, but this time at 0.9. Then after that, we want to go to number 5 after 1.1. Then we want to go to 1 again, I think, after 1.5. Don't know if that's necessary, but I'm just doing it anyway for purposes. And then skin number 6 after 1.8 seconds. And so that should be everything that we need to do there. So this just relates to the texture, or rather the skin of the model, which relates to the different sort of phases of the power up of the sine. So if I go to number 2, we can see then it starts to light up a little bit. 3, the elements begin to appear, then it brightens up. We get the solidization of test chamber elements. And then last but not least, all the progress bars, and that's pretty much it. If you go to any higher than that, then it just defaults to skin 0. So we're just going to leave it at skin 1 for now, so it's in its off phase. And then we want to create a light just in front of the test chamber sine here. And we want to give its brightness a value of 221, 250, 255, and 100. And then you can just copy this, paste it in brightness HDR, but this time we want the brightness in HDR mode to be 50, so slightly less bright. And so basically all you really need to do at this point is trigger this relay, which is the relay sine, which triggers these 2 relays, and then that is enough to get the sine to boot up. So for example, if I go over here, I can create a trigger, volume with the trigger texture, and then just put it around here maybe to occupy the size of the corridor. Control T to type to an entity, maybe a trigger once, and then just do on start touch, then relay sine trigger, happy days. That is now going to boot up the sine. So that is how you do sort of the sine part of this model, just how you would go about making this if you want to use the default signs or the still alive signs maybe, but we're here for something more interesting than that, aren't we? This is going to be the section where we go into actually making your own custom signs. So there are some prerequisites. First and foremost, you're going to want to get Blender. It's free on Steam, so that's what I'm using here. And I have to be, upfront, I have no idea how to use Blender, but thankfully you don't need to have an idea of how to use Blender in this section of the tutorial. And we're also going to want to get the Blender source tools from here. It's just a .zip download, but you don't want to extract it. Just download the .zip folder, and I'll get to that in a little bit. We're also going to use Crowbar, and that is to decompile the Portal test chamber sign model, and also recompile the Portal test chamber sign model when we're finished with the changes we want to make. And to be able to gain access to textures, we're also going to need to get a couple of NIMS tools. One is GCFscape and the other is VTF Edit. So you'll see probably bits and pieces of all of this in the video. So first things first, we're going to want to choose a model that we want to use. So in my case, I'm in the Decompile tab of Crowbar, and I've selected a file of signage num00.mdl, which is the model that we have in here. If I go Alt Enter, signage num00.mdl, so that's there. And where we're going to put it, well, I've got a folder in Portal Chamber Signs, Props, Anim Signs, and Decompiled. I think you could just leave all of this stuff as is, but if I go Decompile, then there shouldn't be any issues whatsoever. It decompiles perfectly fine, so we can just get out of that for now. Get out of the Hammer++ as well, that's what I was using. And so if I go into Portal Chamber Signs, Props, Anim Signs, and then Decompiled, we have Signage Anims, which is just idle animation, don't need to do anything there. And Physics and Reference, these are .smd files, reference being the model, and also a .qc file. It's not showing the proper extensions because you can actually open these in a text document like so, and you know, it's all nonsense really. But what matters is the .qc file, and so it searches for a name and you know, .smd file, changes materials to props, anim, signs. Skin families are the skins, so you see which textures are being used at which skin. And then it also is going to look for an animation called idle, which is idle.smd, and also a physics file, physics.smd. That's just a brief look into that stuff right there. And we're also going to need some textures. That's where VTF Edit comes in. We're particularly going to want All Total Grey, and New Signage Back 02.tga. I've got a GIMP installed on here, so that's why it's showing up with you know, GIMP 2.10.12. That's the version I've got installed. And so if I go over here, we've got Portal, my Portal directory. And because the materials, models, props, anim signs is not fully extracted, what we're going to do is go into GCFscape, have that installed, go Portal Pack dir, and then go materials, models, props, anim signs, and then you can get the VTFs. And we can actually just straight load up the VTFs from here. Load up, you know, VTF Edit like so. And then if we do View Channel Alpha, then we can see this is all of the test chamber signage, all of the numbers, the little numbers, the aperture logo, progress bars, 8 and 19, all of that stuff. So then you could just go export as a TGA, put that to wherever you want to. In my case, I've put them to this directory in here. And so once you have that, and you've decompiled your model like I just showed you, then we can go into Blender. Now there's a couple of things we need to do before we start. So first and foremost, what we have to do is go to Edit and Preferences. This should load up this window as seen here. And then we want to go to Add-ons and then Install. And then you want to navigate to your directory where you've installed the Blender source tools. I've done it here, and I've already done this process. So if I go into add-ons, then you should see that there's already going to be the Blender source tools here. And when that's imported, you just want to check the little tick box next to it so it's activated. And there's also something else that we're going to want to use as well, which is import images as planes. That's one of the Blender provided add-ons. You want to tick that so you can use that. And then we're going to import the model here. So pretty much everything that's in the scene already, the camera, the cube, and the light, we can just get rid of. maybe even the collection as well, maybe, who knows. But then we can do file, import, and then source engine.smd.vta, whatever. So just click on that. And then we're going to navigate to our directory. So in this case, it's portal chamber signs, props anim signs, decompiled, and then signage num00 reference.smd. And then it looks like this. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? You can kind of see what's going on here, but it's all glitchy, so it doesn't really help us. But what we want to do is go into material preview mode, which is this sort of second on the left looking sphere. That's going to be helpful in a little bit. And also my tabs at the top are a little screwed, so let me just do that so it looks a bit better. And so now what we're going to do is go into the shading tab. This splits into two sort of different panels. We've got this preview at the top and these nodes at the bottom. And so what we're going to do is go down to our materials, which are going to be listed under reference and this. You can just see all of these over here. And we're going to want to find the material properties like so. And for all total, let's just get that. And then it's the blend mode in settings and just set that to alpha blend. And then do the same for all total gray, like so. Or blank, which is at the bottom here. Then back 01 and back 02. So just select all of those and set them to alpha blend in the material properties settings as shown. And then we want to go down into here for back 02 in particular. And you can just tick use nodes for now. And what we're going to do is hold Shift A. That does this. Go to texture and then an image texture. So this is basically an input image source. And what we want to do is just open. And we're going to want to go to portal chamber signs, props anim signs, decompiled. And I've got alltotal.tga. And well, basically it's new signage back02.tga, but yeah, that's the extracted textures. I've got all of them here, so I'm just going to select that. And then the color node goes into the base color node of this principled BSDF, which then goes into the surface of the material output. And so basically we are now going to go into all total, and the setup's going to be slightly different. And we're going to have the following things. We're going to go add texture, image texture. And then we're going to want a transparent whatever it's called. It's here somewhere shaded. Transparent BSDF. And also a mix shader as well. And we're just going to get rid of this. This is kind of like shader graph editing. So this is not something that I'm particularly experienced with. But we want to use the texture of alltotal.tga. So again, we've got to go into our directory where the materials are located. alltotal.tga, like so. And then the color goes into the base color. Oops, that was not white. So color goes into base color. And then the alpha goes into the FAC of the mix shader. Then principled BSDF goes into the bottom of the shader node here. The BSDF of the transparent goes into the top. Then the shader goes into the surface, like so. And so what we can do is just copy, well basically select all this, right click, copy. And then we want to do this for all blank. So just go use nodes, select, delete, paste. Jobs are good. You can see the test chamber signage already beginning to shine through. And then new signage 02, I believe, or maybe 00. Right. I'm going to copy that, and that's going into 00. And then 02 is going to have what was in or blank. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how this is working, so apologize for that. Okay, so with these kind of changes, we can see what's happening. We've got the test chamber signage beginning to appear exactly as it's supposed to. And then we've got to do all total grey next. And so again, just tick use nodes, delete what's there, paste it in, but this time we want to change the material to all total grey, like so. And so in theory, that is everything that we need to do here. So now we can leave the shader tab, go into the modeling tab, and again, we need to make sure that we use the material preview mode, like so. And I think there's one thing we haven't actually done yet, so let me just review everything so far. Okay, well, I think what it was is that new signage back 01 needed to be added as well, which I didn't do. It's basically the same as new signage back 02 and all of that bollocks, basically. So I think that's how you do it. But if you go into the modeling tab, you can see that now we have what looks like a chamber sign. And so now we can get to editing everything that we need to deal with. So again, we've got material, material preview in the top right, and now it's looking a lot like there's vertices and a lot of triangles that we can manipulate. And so what we have to do is we need to go into edit mode, which we are in, like so. Edit mode at the top left. And then face selection mode, which is which is one of these, I believe. That is face selection mode. It's this one. And so now we can begin to select these triangles, like so, and select different sections of this test chamber sign. So if we don't want the box, then we can just select these, and then we can go, for example, all total grey and assign, and then it greys out that element. And then do the same thing for whatever chamber elements we want. Shift from all total to all total grey if you really want to, depends on which element you want. So if you want the cake and the portal flings, then you can basically do that by just changing between all total and all total grey. There's these progress bars as well. Now for 0, 0, they're all filled in. So I'm holding control here, by the way. Maybe if you want to select different ones, then you don't need to hold control. But for me, I'm just going to say, you know what, we're not having any progress bars whatsoever, so we can just delete vertices, and that gets rid of all the progress bars. Since 19 out of 19 should be 100% out of 76 bars that are there. So you can actually do 76 divided by 19, you get 4. And so in Portal 1, where there's 19 chambers, 4 progress bars indicates 1 chamber. So you have to be clever with your math to get the progress bars aligned neatly. Again, it can be pretty bad if you don't use a multiple of 76, and especially if 4 bars doesn't represent all the chambers, then that can get into nasty territory. So just keep that in mind. And so you can also do the same for 0, 0 as well. Now the thing is, there's actually supposed to be another window here that I'm supposed to be able to see, and I'm not seeing it anywhere. So that is kinda not nice. We have to go to the UV editing tab. So now I need to remember where the UV editing tab is, which I think is here. There we go. I think there's supposed to be a way that we can sort of have these both at the same time. Don't know if that's doable necessarily, but then what we would do in the UV editing tab is just select the vertices here, and then we can move, well, we're supposed to be able to move the polygon around, so that probably depends on the tools that are being used, like so. You need to rotate it as well, so if you hold control, then it snaps it to nicer angles, so we can just do that. Then use the move tool to move it wherever we want to. The 1 is a little finicky, so it's probably not the best that you try and use the 1 in this case. But if I wanted to change that to a 6, then I'm just going to half-arse it and put it about center, maybe there. And then if we go back to, the other window, again, this is supposed to be split into two, so I don't know why it's not split into two like this. But then you can see that we've changed the 0 to a 6, and so we can do the same thing over here. You know, just select the vertices, rotate it around by holding control as well, then use move, shift it over to the 9 if you really want to do this. And then I'm just going to go back to the 3D viewport, and you can see we changed it to 69. And again, you might want to just fiddle around with it, make sure it's nice and center, because this is just a half-assed job. But we've got the cake. If you really want to, you can actually change some of these other elements. So for example, the fountain here, which I don't know what the fountain is supposed to represent, but we can make it all total like so. But we can go into the UV editor mode, select the vertices, and then shift it over to the cake, kind of like so. And so then if we go back to the 3D viewport, we can see we actually have a second cake on, you know, the signage here. So you can repeat that process for all the others, just make them all cakes or whatever you want. So I'm just going to leave it at that. The little numbers as well you can change, so just select those again, UV edit mode, select the vertices and just move them to the numbers that you want. Again, I'm half-arsing the job here, so I've got to go back to the 3D viewport, select that, go into UV edit mode, select the vertices, shift it to the 9 until it's about center, you know, and then just might want to toggle around with that. But yeah, we've got 69 out of 19 with 2 cakes and momentum, if that's the, you know, way you want to go with this. And so now we have this, we're in a position to export it. Okay everyone, just a little follow-up after the fact. What I've decided to show here is how you can add the still alive signage, or really any custom signage that you want, into your sort of test chamber sign here. Now if I didn't make it clear in the video, new signage back 00 is supposed to use back 002. That is the sort of light colour of the back. And new signage 01, new signage back 01 is supposed to have all total in this setup, just like back 02 has. And so what you can do is, if you go to the modeling tab and you can see all of these materials, what you can do is click on the plus button, that adds a new material slot. And then if you go back to the shading tab, then you can see you can use nodes, and you can basically copy the same setup as you did with all total and all total gray, but instead of using all total gray, you use these, in my case, the still alive specific textures. So then go back to modeling. What you can do is, in the face edit mode, you could just click on, say, the box dropper here. And what I did figure out how you could do is split the view. So you just go view area and then do a horizontal or vertical split. So in my case, I'm actually going to do a vertical split around, say, there, and then change the one on the left to the UV editor, as you can see here. And then instead of all total, we're going to use all total SA and a sign. And you can see that it's the still alive signage, so it's out of 14 instead of 19. And then we get the electricity fields, the def fields, the crushers, and the hard light bridge. And if you want to know, it's the top left here, the bottom left, the one before, so one next to the bottom left, and typically it's the one before the bottom right, but as you can see, I've actually changed the one before that, so the middle and the bottom, to be the crusher. So those are just the default positions, but you can change these however you see fit. And as long as you have a all total or all total grey sign set up, then you can really have your own custom elements wherever you want to. And you can change the out of 19 here to all total SA, and then it becomes out of 14 instead of 19. So that I'll just throw this in here just so you know for sure what it is that you need to do. And one thing I didn't do is show you that in the shading tab for new signage back, just use nodes, otherwise you don't get the lighting as you're supposed to. So yeah, sorry for the fuck ups in the video, and also I hope that this helps you make your own sort of custom elements if you see fit. Is that it? I think this is the tab. Yeah, so it's this one. It's called scene properties. I was confused because this bit, the source engine exportables, it's that scene symbol there. So what we want to do is probably rename this. So I'm just going to call it signage num00 edit underscore reference, and it changes down here as well, so that's a good thing. And then we want to set the path as an SMD for the source engine, and we also want to we also make sure we change the so I think that's everything we need. That's the name of it. And we just need to set the export path. That's what we need to do. So if we do that, then we can go to portal chamber signs, props anim signs, modded, and just go in here, and then just click on export. Export the edit SMD. You see it says one file exported in that much time. Doesn't seem to be any errors or anything here. So that means it should have compiled to our modded folder in here. And I can see from 9:35 PM that is what it is. It's edit reference. So what I should mention as well is that in the decompiled folder, we can copy over the folder which has the idle sort of animation in it, the physics and the .qc file. The reference is what's going to change because that's what we're modding here. So pretty much the folder, QC and physics can be copied over because we're not changing anything on that front, except for the QC where we're just going to change everything to edit. And in the QC file, just change it to, in this case, underscore edit, underscore edit reference. It changes the materials for us, so we don't need to worry about that. Change it to edit and edit. And then in theory, what we can do is go back to Crowbar, go to compile. In this case, I've already set it up, so it's portal chamber signs, props anim signs, modded, signage num00 edit.qc, and it's going to be outputted to portal models, props anim signs using portal. If we go compile, then check for errors, but everything should have compiled properly. And so now what we can do is go back to Hammer++, and what I'm going to have to do here is actually I'm going to have to save the project somewhere, so I'm just going to save that. I'll save that here. So I'm going to have to close out of Hammer++, and then we're going to go to Portal, Bin, Hammer++. It's going to show up on this one, the other monitor. Everything here is showing up on the other monitor. Damn. Anyway, we can go recent files, map test sign, and then if I go to the sign, we can go into the properties, go into here, edit, apply, and then change the skin to 6, and then you can see that it is the sign that we created. So it's chamber 69, number 69, doesn't look too bad actually, and we've got the cakes as well, the 2 cakes, the momentum. And that is how you can create your own modified signs for Portal. I know I've gone on for a bit and I kind of fucked up in the middle, but basically you can see this is how you do it. So sorry if I didn't give the most proper tutorial on this. I tried my best. I only found out about this recently and I thought, you know what, I've got to do this. So I hope that you found this helpful as well. The only thing left to do is to do a full compile of the map and just show you what the process is like. But with that, I hope you found this helpful and informative. Please let me know what you think, and if you want me to do any more tutorials, I know there's at least one viewer requested tutorial that I'm going to have to do, so I hope you'll see me for that. So take care of that, everyone. Peace out and see you next time.